Graph the two equations by finding their intercepts. So intercepts, remember, means that one of the letters is going to equal 0, and we find out what is the other letter. So in this first example I said, first, x equals 0, what is y? And then my second example on this same equation, y is going to equal 0, what is x? So I'm going to put the y in, or the 0 in for x. So 0 minus y equals 3. 0 minus y is just negative y, so negative y equals 3. Divide out that negative. I have y is negative 3. Making y equal to 0. So I need space here. X minus, make the x look like an x. So x minus y, y is equal to 0. So x minus 0 equals 3. Taking nothing away from it, so I have just plain x equals 3. Take that to my graphing space. 0, negative 3. So my x is 0, and my y is negative 3. So 1, 2, 3. Put my dot down here. Second one, 3, 0. So my x is 3. 1, 2, 3. My y is 0, so I'm not going up or down any at all. So my dot gets put right there on the axis. That's the idea of plotting, of graphing by finding the intercepts. Each of your dots is going to be on the axis. And then once I have my two dots, I draw my line, add the arrows, and that problem is done. I move on to the next one. So over here, x is 0, x is 5y. I replace the x with a 0. So 0 is 5y. Divide out the 5. What I do on one side, I do on the other. 0 divided by 5. Am I allowed to do that? If I have no markers in my hand, and I want to put them into 5 stacks, how many go in the first stack? None, because I don't have any to put in it. How many go in the second stack? None, because I don't have any to put in it. Okay. So I can do that. I can say that 0 go in the first stack, 0 go in the second stack, 0 go in every stack. However, if I had a marker in my hand, let's say I had a couple of markers in my hand, and I want to put them into 0 stacks, even if I magically hide the markers, you can't see them anymore, they're gone, right? Well, I still have them. So they're not in 0 stacks, they're in one hidden stack. So you can't put things, you can't divide by 0. Get rid of those markers for now. So 0 divided by 5. I type that on my calculator. It gives me 0. 0 equals y. Fill in the number. Now I have the other one here. If I make y equal to 0, I have x equals 5 times 0. 5 times 0 is 0. So x equals 0. Fill in my number there. Now I have a slight problem with this. 0, 0, 0, 0. It's the same spot. I haven't moved anywhere. I don't have two separate spots, so I can't draw my line. I need to find another spot that's not the intercept. So I'm going to make this a little easier. If you remember, if you watched that video, if I have one letter that is already solved for, it's already alone on its one side of the equal sign, I choose a number for the other letter. So I'm going to choose a number for y. And I'm going to make it an easy number to multiply by, 1. So now I have x equals 5 times 1. So x equals 5. Now I have 2 points that I can use to graph. But I can't graph it by finding the intercepts. I have to find a separate point. So I have my 0, 0. That's right here at the origin. And then I have 5, 1. So count out 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count up 1, put my dot in, draw my line to connect the two dots. Remember, I'm not an artist. That's supposed to go through the line, through the dot. So that line is not there. Pretend you didn't see it. You have to take at least a little bit of care with these. So there's my graph. That problem is done. Graph these two separate problems by finding their intercepts. So I'm going to ignore that one over there for a moment. I'm going to work only on this one. 2x minus 4y equals 8. So I have to find the intercepts first. So I set up my table. X, one of them equals 0. Y, a second point where the y equals 0. So I'm going to replace the x with 0. So this is 2 times 0 minus 4y equals 8. 2 times 0. What is anything times 0? 0. So 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus or minus anything, the 0 doesn't change it. So I have just negative 4y equals 8. Divide out that negative 4. 8 divided by negative 4, positive divide negative is negative. 8 divide 4 is 2. So there's my answer for that one. Now with this problem, a little shortcut that you might want to find out about. This is sometimes called the cover-up method, because anything that's multiplied by 0 is 0, so that's why I covered up the x part of that. And I was left with negative 4y equals 8. That will save you steps when you're trying to work out the problem. So now I need to make room for this. Second one. Second point. I'm told that x is unknown, y is 0. So I want my y to be 0. So I'm going to do the cover-up method. Negative 4 times 0 is 0. And I'm left with 2x equals 8. I just saved myself 2 steps there. 2x equals 8, divide the 2 out. 2 divide 2 cancels out, I'm left with x equals 8 divide 2 is 4. So now I have my 2 points. Now I take them to my graph and I graph them. 0, negative 2. 0 on the x, negative 2 down here. So 1, 2, put my dot down. 4, 0. So the 4 is in my x position, so 4 on the x. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Put my dot right there. Connect my dots, draw my line. Remember, I'm not an artist. I couldn't draw a straight line to save my life. But that's kind of reasonable. This problem is now done. I have my intercepts, and I drew my line. Next problem. Y equals 3x plus 6. Replace the x with a 0. So I'm going to do my cover-up method. 3 times 0? 0. 0 plus or minus anything? Whatever that may be. So I have here y equals 6. Nothing else to be done. It's solved. Second point here. Here I want y to be 0. Okay, so this is where the cover-up method doesn't always work as a shortcut. Because if I just cover that up and I say nothing equals 3x plus 6, well, I can't finish that up. I need to have that equal sign there. I need to have the 0 there. So this is where sometimes you actually do have to work these out. 0 equals 3x plus 6. Solving for x, I need to subtract the 6. What I do on one side of the equal sign, I do on the other. So now I have negative 6 equals 3x. Finish solving for x. I divide out the 3. Negative divide by positive is negative. 6 divide 3 is 2. The 3 cancels the 3 over here, and I have just the 6. So I have a negative 2 for my answer. I need to make room here. Now I need to graph this. 0, 6. Okay, so I'm doing this by finding my intercepts. I have 0 for one of them, I have 0 for the other. I have my intercepts. So I know these are going to be on the axis, whichever axis. Here, y equals 6. Saves me a little time. Count up to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put my dot. X equals negative 2. Use my x-axis. 1, 2. Put my dot. Draw the line to connect my dots. I am done. That equation is graphed. I know my 2 intercepts. I don't need to do any more. Graph by finding the intercepts. X is negative 1, and separately y equals 5. So the intercepts, remember, are where one of your letters equals 0. So here I'm going to plug in 0 for x. So I have 0 equals negative 1. I have a problem with this because 0 does not equal negative 1, so therefore I cannot put this anywhere in this problem. So I can't use that at all. Now, going to the other one. X is negative 1. If y is 0, I have nowhere in here to put the 0. I just have that x is negative 1. So this x is going to be negative 1 because it says that x is negative 1. There's nothing about the y. I can't use the y. It doesn't matter what the y is. I could make the y 200 if I wanted to. X is still going to be negative 1. So there is only one intercept, and that is where -1 is x and y is 0. If I go to graph this, x is -1 and y is 0. And my line, the line of the actual equation, let me do this in a different color from my graphs. So I have my -1, 0 right there in red. The line itself for the equation is going to look like that. Because it does not matter what y is. Like I said, if y is 200, so way up here somewhere, x is still going to be -1. If y is -5, x is still going to be -1. So this is going to give us a vertical line. Going over to the other one, y equals 5. You have your x and your y, you have 0 for one and you have 0 for the other. So I'm going to take my equation, I'm going to plug in 0 for x. Y is 5. Where do I put the 0? There is no x there. We just have the y is 5. So the x part does not matter for this one. Let's do the other one here. Replace y with 0. So then we have 0 equals 5. Does not work. So this does not work. So I have only one point there. And just like with the other, I could use any number I wanted to for x. So let's get rid of that. Let's say that I use 15 for x. Y is still 5. Doesn't matter what x is here. So when I do my graph, I have 0, 5. So 0 left and right, 5 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put my dot down. And it doesn't matter what x is. I have 15, 5. I could have negative something, 5, whatever it may be. I am going to have a horizontal line. So the take-home lesson from this: if you have y equals a number and x is not involved in your equation at all, you are going to have a horizontal line. So this right here is telling you horizontal line. It's also telling you that there is only one intercept, and that is your y-intercept. You cannot have an x-intercept for that question. Over here on this question, you cannot have a y-intercept on this question, because it's x equals a number. So x equals a number is going to be a vertical line. A line that goes straight up and down. And it has only one intercept in it.